This meeting is being live streamed.
Awesome. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This is Coach Carla Joy and Friends, and we're really, really glad that you're here. Well, to start, we'd like to remind you that we're part of a healthy living community known as the Juice Plus community that started in 1970. And we've been here, the Juice Plus products have been around since the 1990s. We're talking about whole food, plant based, freshly picked at the peak of ripeness fruits, vegetables, berries that are concentrated and packed into capsules, into soft chews, our complete shake, our fruits and vegetable superfoods, our luminate, and our super biome, the newest of our additions. I'm really excited to be here with you. My name is Coach Carla Joy, and this is Doctor's Orders. Well, please keep in mind that the information that we'll be sharing with you is not to replace a conversation with your physician. In fact, we encourage you to share this information with your physician and have a dialogue with them about the role of lifestyle changes in your healthy living journey. As I said, my name is Coach Carla Joy. We've been doing doctor's orders for several years, and every Friday, we're here talking about health concerns. And today, we're taking another look at cancer. Now, why are we talking about this? Well, my introduction to cancer came when I was a little girl, and both my mother and her father died of cancer, gender specific cancers, when I was 12 years old. And it seems as though the idea of cancer hung over my life for many decades. During the years when we were training in medicine, we were under the impression that cancer was caused by genetics and maybe exposure to certain environmental factors. The data now shows that less than 10% of cancers are caused completely by genetics. And in this age of the understanding of something called epigenetics, we now know that things can switch on cancer genes and things can switch off cancer resistant genes so that it's not just the genes themselves. In other words, as it's very common in in our coaching circles, the genes may load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. Now, in my case, I had no idea about what I just shared with you. So, when I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and prediabetes, I realized that just um, I was just not feeling well, but I actually was becoming a statistic. And one of the markers for increased risk of cancer is actually having an elevated cholesterol. So I have to admit, I panicked and then I prayed. I mean, think of yourself being in a cold exam room, waiting for your doctor to return to discuss your results. And here comes your doctor and then tells you, even though you may have had illnesses before, that you are now a statistic. So I had to go on a journey of trying to find out how I could reverse what where I found myself. I was on a journey to find something that I'd never seen before. As a person being trained in the medical field, I had seen people who had that same diagnosis, but they never got better. They were managed. Their diseases, the signs and symptoms, we tried to alleviate them, but people never really got better. So I was looking for something I had never seen. I was asking God for something I had never seen. And I went on a journey looking for what could I do? What could I learn? What was there out there? And little did I know that there was already research showing that changing your lifestyle could change the outcomes. My goddaughter, my favorite physical therapist, introduced me to the documentary Forks Over Knives, and then to the work of Dr. Michael Greger in his lecture on Uprooting the Cause of Disease, in which he reviews the 15 most common causes of death in the United States. At that time, in 2012, heart disease was followed by cancer. Now, the deaths caused by disease, heart disease and cancer, are almost neck and neck. Diabetes is also high on that list, and so are several autoimmune conditions. When I listened to his work, I was blown away because I'd found the answer that I could make changes in what I was doing. I did not have to feel like a victim. I did not have to feel hopeless and helpless. There were things that I could do. So, very simply, I share the 6 pillars of health. And if you've been in our doctor's order sessions, you already know them. If you're live, you can type them in the chat and while I'm sharing them. The first one is water. Adding more water. A lot of people do not drink enough water, and a lot of people ask me, well, how much is enough water? And most recommendations say that 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. Thank you for putting some of the 6 pillars of health in the chat. Most of us, if we can get 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, can reach our water requirements. And of course, it will vary with the amount of activity. It can vary with the environmental temperature. If it's cooler, maybe we won't sweat as much and may not need as much. And if it's very hot, then we may need more water. And walking is number 2. Thank you for putting that in the chat. Walking meaning movement, but you can just start with walking. And for those who may not be able to walk comfortably, moving our body whichever way we can. We may only be able to use upper body movements, then do that. Maybe you can only move one leg. Well, move that one leg. So moving every day in trying to get 30 minutes of casual walking into if you're a beginner, is a good way to get started. And you can do more. Of course, check with your medical professionals before you start any additional activities or exercise programs. And if you're thinking of working out in a gym, make sure that you're being supported by a trained professional so that they can make sure that you don't hurt yourself while you try to reach your movement goals. So that's water and walking. The next one is sleep. And for many people, sleep is a bad word. Many people think that they don't need sleep. I've even heard people say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. But no, we need to sleep every day. The recommendation is 7 to 9 hours a night. And I say a night because night is a better time. We are affected by something called circadian rhythms. And it's true that if you live on different parts of the world, you may have slightly different circadian rhythms, but you still need 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. Um, Many things happen while you're sleeping. The brain decompresses, thoughts and new neuronal connections are made. Your body ramps up its detox processes while you're sleeping. It allows your body to go into modes of activity that it cannot sustain very well during the day while you're up and big and busy. So sleep is very important. Also, thank you for putting in the chat, rest. Now, rest and recuperation encompass a lot of things. It could be also being part of a community. The American College of Lifestyle Medicine lists being part of a community as one of its pillars of health. And Dan Buettner, in his book on the blue zones, speaks about the impact of being part of a community on those who live the longest and the healthiest in the world. So, rest meaning taking time for yourself outside of your work, outside of the busyness of life, getting involved in something that is enjoyable, based on a community, maybe meditation. A lot of spiritual practices can also lead to rest. Prayer, meditation, attending your local faith fellowship, things like that can all be included in the rest pillar of health. Next comes detoxing. Now, detoxing has become a buzzword, and there are several different aspects of detoxing. One could be emotional, letting go of negative emotions, and maybe even strategically letting go of negative relationships. I know that can be a big topic, and you may need a health coach or a therapist or a counselor to help you navigate that. Because just as rest is very important in reducing stress hormones, detoxing your relationships, detoxing the stressful situations in which you find yourself can also be very health promoting. We are in a world where we're exposed to toxins all the time, and your body is able to detox. But if you can protect yourself from radiation, from toxic chemicals, from things like excessive alcohol, from smoking of any kind, then that will also be health giving for you. And then there's active detoxing, changing what you expose your body to. For example, in our homes, very often our homes are sealed, and we try to spray chemicals to improve the scent. Some of those scents may be harmful when they are absorbed into your body through your nose into your lungs, and the liver has to detox, break those chemicals down, and they can be converted into toxic chemicals in our bodies. So you may want to look at and investigate some of the things that we spray into the air, some of our cleaning products. We want our homes to be clean, but you may want to take a look at some of the cleaning products and try to minimize exposure to toxic chemicals. Many chemicals say do not use in an enclosed area, and our homes are enclosed areas. So avoiding those toxic chemicals And very often we store a lot of toxic chemicals under our sink in a closet. And when we open it, we get a whiff of these chemicals through a process called off gassing. Even though the lids are tight, they do penetrate into the atmosphere. So detoxing is a huge topic, but it is one of the pillars of health. And finally, whole food plant-based eating. Now, in Dr. Greger's talk, he says you can't outrun, out meditate, out drink a bad diet. And I know that you probably wouldn't think that your diet is a bad diet. And I'm not here to tell you whether it is or not. What I am here to tell you is that a whole food plant-based eating plan is the only research supported eating plan that not only reduces the risk for cancer, it also reduces the risk for the other of the 15 most common causes of death. Not only does it reduce the risk, and that means that fewer people would actually develop these diseases if they ate whole food plant-based. But not only that, people who have the disease, a whole food plant-based eating plan can slow the development, slow the progression of these diseases, including cancer. And in many cases, reverse it. And here's where we take this second look at cancer. Dr. Kelly, in her book, Kelly Turner, PhD, in her book, Radical Remission, lists about 9 or 10 characteristics of people who have experienced reversal of their cancer. Now, they're talking about people who had less than a 25% chance of survival. And these people had several characteristics in common. They exercised. Well, the ones in her book, Radical Remission, they were not focused on exercise. They changed their diet. They used supplements and herbs. They chose mental empowerment. In other words, they didn't just give over control of their health and their lives to someone else in authority. They became the CEO of their lives, and they took responsibility for their health and other areas of their lives. They decided that they would be in control. They sought second and third and fourth opinions of people who could support them on their journey to recovery. And they used the information and they took action. In terms of their emotions, they chose to increase positive emotions like joy, peace. They worked on those emotions and improved them. And negative emotions, they worked to minimize those. So 2 things they practiced, one was gratitude and the other was forgiveness. So those were very important in those who experienced radical remission. In terms of their spiritual journey, they deepened their spiritual journey. And they may have had different religious backgrounds, but they deepened their relationship with who they perceived God to be, someone bigger than themselves. And they also listened to their intuition. They spent time to be quiet and listen to their intuition and act upon it, to give themselves time to make decisions based on what they felt most strongly. But one of the things that she said seemed to be very important was having a very strong desire to live and a sense of purpose. I want to talk about that just for a moment. Many of us feel that we haven't discovered our life's purpose. And I can't imagine how frustrating that may be, especially if you're 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 and you feel like you're not sure. Why am I still here? Or what is my purpose? I want to encourage you that every single one of us is here for a purpose. Now, we don't all have great relationships with our families, and we may not all have tons of friends, but each one of us has impacted positively the lives of others. And I have two questions for you. What if this journey of battling cancer and winning reveals to you a purpose you may not have seen or may not have yet encountered? That's question number one. And question number two, what if in this journey you get an opportunity to impact the lives of people you already know, like me, or people you are yet to meet? You know, many of us have faced challenging experiences, and on the other side, just talking about it has been a source of transformation for others so that others may know that it is possible to get to the other side. When you have a difficult experience, if you're facing cancer, if a relative of yours is facing cancer, then this journey allows you to talk about it in a way that you could not have before, and allows you to speak to the hearts and minds of others who may not yet be on the journey or who may have been where you are now. And your sharing your journey with them can make the world of difference to them. So even though you may feel you don't quite understand your purpose, even this experience can open the door to purpose for you. So take the information that we're sharing with you about the 6 pillars of health and apply them to your life. And I'll come back to the final pillars, number 6, whole food, plant-based eating, in a moment. But I'd like to take an aside to talk about a young man called Chris Walk. In, I believe, 2003, he was diagnosed with colon cancer. After his colonoscopy and the surgery to remove the cancer, he was staged at stage 3 colon cancer. 1/3 of his colon was removed, and then at 26 years of age, he had to decide to believe that he could get better, or at least have a desire to get better, because he wanted to take care of his wife and his aging parents. Now, very often when people are given a cancer diagnosis, there seems to be a sense of urgency. We have to start treatment, or we have to do something right away. There are some cases where immediate surgery or immediate treatment may be appropriate. But for most people, waiting a week or two so that you can read and find out about the diagnosis and about alternative treatments, in addition to the treatments that are recommended by your physician, and compare and contrast the outcomes, the quality of life, the side effects, what people have experienced. Take the time to do that reading so that when you make a decision, it's not based on fear, it's based on information. and knowledge. Chris did that, and he was able to use a regimen of pure plant-based, raw plant-based eating. And he may have done other things afterwards, but his first attack on this disease situation in which he found himself was to focus on plant-based eating. Now, what is the definition of plant-based eating? The general definition is 90% of your calories coming from plants, preferably as close to the way they are naturally produced as possible. So that's why it's whole food, plant-based, minimally processed. So that is fruits, vegetables, grains, peas and beans, also known as legumes. A whole food plant-based eating plan does not contain any dairy products, no milk, no eggs, no milk, no cheese, no yogurt, no butter, no cream. It will be high in fiber because fiber is only found in plant material. It will be low in fat because there are a few fatty fruits and vegetables. One fatty vegetables or vegetable or fruit is avocado, but most fruit and vegetables, grains, peas and beans are low in fat. Nuts tend to be high in fat, but a whole food plant-based eating plan will keep the fat content low. This is very important. And water would be your main drink. Now, for a person who does not have a diagnosis, you still have 10% of your calories that can accommodate animal products, whether that's fowl, um, fowl, eggs, and so on. But you would want to avoid processed animal products, processed and preserved. So if you want to know more information about what's on that list, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to work with you on that. But in general, whole food plant-based, you would want to have 90% of your calories coming from plants. There is room for 10% animal products. And again, you want not the highly processed ones, not the preserved ones. You want to eat quality animal products. But if you have a diagnosis, then you may want to speak with a medical professional who is trained in the role of nutrition in your recovery program, and they may recommend that you remove all animal products because of your goal of restoring health after a cancer diagnosis. So, taking a look at cancer once again, you may find yourself looking at getting more people involved in your decision-making process. Now, if it's friends and family, there might be a lot of emotion and there might even be a lot of pressure to take the standard of care. I want you to enlist your friends and family, if they're involved in the decision-making process, in getting as much information as possible. What does the standard of care involve? What are the outcomes? What is the quality of life? And when people are talking about the treatment, the outcomes of the treatment, are they just talking about tumor reduction? Or are they talking about longevity? Are they talking about a cure or are they talking about palliation? Are they talking about improved symptoms or are they talking about a cure? So enlist them in that process and also enlist them in doing the reading involved in what does the research show about the role of whole food plant-based eating, which, as I mentioned before, is research supported in terms of restoration to health. Now, I hope what I've shared with you today is really helpful. For many people, jump-starting this process of adding more fruits and vegetables to their eating plan can be daunting. And that's why we at the Juice Plus Company are so excited, because especially today, you can get a discount on all of our products, especially if you're a first time um, purchaser. And these products are designed to help you make that one simple change of adding more fruit and vegetable to what you already eat. I know you're busy. I know that your lifestyle may be hectic. And that's why having the fruit, the vegetable, and the berry blend is an absolutely wonderful way to jumpstart your healthy living journey. Add to that our omega blend. And if you are interested in getting your omegas back online, you may have been thinking of using fish oil. Did you know that fish don't make omegas? They actually get their omegas from the algae that they eat. So we bypassed the middle fish and went straight to the algae and to 5 other plant sources that are rich in omegas. And it's not just omega 3. We have the omega 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9, that whole array of omega oils that as they occur in nature. So you're avoiding the fishy burps, you're avoiding the toxic um, contaminants from the fish and from the seawater, and you're getting what nature provides, multiple omegas. In addition to that, we have the Healthy Starts for Families program. For every adult that gets started on this healthy living journey using the Juice Plus products, the child could get the fruit and vegetables for free from ages 4 through 24. And now, for those of us who would like to get more of our fruits and vegetables in a drink, we have the superfoods. You can put your superfood into water, shake it up, and the fruits, the vegetables, and the berries that we had, the 10 fruit, 10 vegetables, 10 berries, they're all in here in your water in our superfood. Easy to drink, easy to carry around. We also have the complete shakes. That's protein powder with fiber and with vegetables, ancient grains, broccoli sprouts, alfalfa sprouts, organic amaranth, quinoa, and other grains. This is an amazing way for you to get your nutrition. Some people say, but it has sugar. Well, the sugar comes from the fiber. The way fiber exists, it's as though the ends, it's like a mesh, and the ends can be lopped off and as sugar, but that's part of the fiber. And so this does not give you peaks and troughs. It actually evens out your glucose intake, and it's recommended by medical professionals, and even diabetics can share in it. And if you want a pick-me-up during the day, we have our Luminate. It contains amazing things like ashwagandha and different mushrooms, mushroom types. Ask us and we'll be happy to tell you more about it. I love it because even though it gives me a pickup, it is calming and helps me focus. I've really enjoyed having my Luminate every day. And it gets even better. Now we know that inflammation is at the root cause of 90% of the diseases, the chronic diseases, including cancer. Then we know that having our gut supported will improve our body's ability to get rid of chronic inflammation. So the Juice Plus company has provided us with a probiotic which contains lactobacillus and bifidobacillus strains in a delayed release capsule so that the bacteria are not destroyed as they pass through the acid stomach, and they can therefore implant in the intestines. And we also have the supporting fiber, five fibers that the bacteria can use to create colonies, to become established, and to produce the postbiotics that our body uses in its recovery and health. So here we have not only a support for those of you who want to start your journey, we also have products that can help build and restore your gut. If you've ever been exposed to antibiotics, then having our super biome with the probiotic and the prebiotic together would be a smart choice. And if you're already on a probiotic with or without a prebiotic, ask yourself, what differences have you noticed? And give our probiotic and prebiotic a 3-week trial. And then write us and tell us what a difference you've noticed. I noticed a difference in the first day, but you write in and tell us. Now, I hope that the information that we've shared with you today has been encouraging. Dr. Siegfried says that cancer is a metabolic disease and should be addressed metabolically. Well, to do that, we need to change our diet. Yes, we need to exercise, we need to drink more water, we need to sleep, rest, and stop exposing ourselves to toxic chemicals, toxic drugs, alcohol, smoking, and non prescription drugs that are addictive. We need to do that. But the biggest thing that we can do is add more fruits and vegetables to our eating plan, cut back on our animal products so that it's less than 10% of our calories. And if we have a cancer diagnosis, we may consider removing animal products completely. Now, if you have some questions, I would love to walk with you and redirect you to some cancer coaches who would be happy to help you fine tune your approach to cancer, answer your questions, give you alternatives so that when you make your decisions, you're making an informed decision. I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation as much as I have. You can stay tuned to ask questions. But until the next time, I'd like our friends to unmute and tell you what we say after every doctor's orders presentation.
Eat more fruits and vegetables.
There you go. That's the answer. I look forward to speaking with you again. Thank you for joining us. See you next time. I keep forgetting to record.